Hello and welcome. My name is Bobby McCumber and thank you for joining us here today on this panel. Today we'll be discussing a variety of degrees that are offered with the College of Arts and Education, including arts degrees focusing on humanities and social science, creative arts and criminal justice. Now, to talk with me today in more detail, I have three panellists that are going to be joining me, starting with Oliver Kaiser. Oliver is a student ambassador studying Bachelor of Criminal Justice. Thank you for joining us, Oliver.
Thank you for having me.
We also have Dr. Greg Aronson, Senior Lecturer and Course Chair in Bachelor of Music. Thank you, Greg, for joining us.
You're very welcome.
And finally, we have Associate Professor Jeannie Ray, who is Course Chair of College of Arts and Education. Thank you very much for joining us, Jeannie.
Terrific to be here.
Glad to have you all here. We'll start with you, Jeannie. Now, within our arts degrees, we have a variety of majors and minors. Based on industry trends in the next 5 to 10 years, what would you say are some of our most popular or in-demand qualifications for students?
Well, at VU, we offer actually both the generic, I suppose, traditional arts degrees with majors and minors, majors that will range from literary studies to history to sociology. We include minors in gender studies, minors in Indigenous ways of knowing. But we also offer a range across the visual arts and creative arts. However, we also have quite specialised degrees, including the one that Oliver's doing in criminal justice, where we develop from the disciplines, primarily there in the social sciences, to develop a degree which targets students to actually work in new industries and developing industries. And criminal justice is an excellent example of an area where more jobs have come forward that now need a professional bachelor degree, at least level qualification.
Now, Greg, the creative arts is slightly different here from the arts sector. Can you tell us about some of the specialisations with creative arts?
Sure, Bobby. Yes, in addition to the traditional arts, humanities and social sciences, we have creative arts. So that really at VU means visual arts, which is things like painting and photography. We have music, particularly focusing on contemporary music, and we also have screen media. Now, one of the really good things, I think, is that you can do those three disciplines, visual arts, screen media or music, as part of an arts degree, major or minor, but you can also, if you're really interested in music or you're really interested in screen media, we have a bachelor degree in both of those areas that focuses just on those areas. So you can do a little bit, or you can do a whole lot.
Great. Now, Jeannie, just going back to some of those industry trends, can you tell us about some of the partnerships or affiliations that we work with here at VU? And I guess some of the opportunities for students participating, whether it be through work placements or just networking opportunities.
We always pride ourselves in VU of being very much connected to our community and of course to our industries. So whilst it may seem surprising at times to think you might be doing a history degree, you might be doing a degree in gender studies, majoring or minoring in gender studies, for example, communications, which sounds, that's not really obvious. However, we're always thinking about where students are going to end up. So one of the important things that we do is have a series of opportunities for students to take options in really authentic work-based projects, often with a client, and I'm sure Greg can tell you more about that in music as well. But in really the humanities, social sciences as well, students will come through and by their third year, they'll have got a really good sense of the sort of area they want to work in, and they'll develop a project, often with a real client, and they will then go and do whatever it may be, whatever type of thing, often, of course, bringing in not just their disciplines they've majored in, but across the studies of their whole degrees. And so we partner with organisations across the community sector, often in our local region, of course, but also with government and government agencies and, of course, with businesses as well. People are often calling upon our VU students to come and work with them because they know that they've got both the knowledge but also the skills to get started in a role, and fantastically that sometimes translates into a job as they leave.
It's a great partnership then, isn't it? Not only giving opportunities for the students, but these workplaces that are obviously looking for the students as well.
Bobby, the marvellous thing too is for someone like me who's been here for a while, we start to see our graduates who are now running their own businesses, maybe head of an organisation, turning around and coming and recruiting from amongst our graduates here, but also knowing what we do, saying, look, we'd really love to have criminal justice students come for a placement. Really want someone with that thinking grounding you get in history, who might be interested in picking this up. So it will vary quite a lot. And then more specifically also into the massive creative arts industry, which we know is a massive employer in our state, because we've seen, of course, what happened to jobs with the COVID lockdown, how many people lost their jobs. But I'll throw to Greg there to tell us more, eh?
Well, I don't want to talk too much about people not having work, although it is, of course, the reality. But we have seen, of course, how much we rely on the creative artists in our society. We rely on all the people here today, you know, working in the film industry, presenters. We rely on technicians. Often creative artists are the people you don't see in front of the camera. So certainly, I think we also have appreciated how much art means to us in times like this. Whether it's Netflix or virtual galleries, we all enjoy access to the arts. So it's very important, something we believe very strongly here. Like Jeannie, we really value the arts community, the creative arts community industry. We work with places like Acme and Malthouse Theatre, where music is taught at Kindred Studios is actually an arts-based hub in the west of Melbourne that's very well known. We work with festivals. We've worked with the Melbourne International Jazz Festival to have students doing placements there. It's a really big part of our course that students get out into the community, get out into industry, and really focus on that practice-based learning that sets them up for, a practical life after graduation.
You mentioned it, and I think you're right on the money here with isolation, especially going into isolation number 2. Everyone is relying on entertainment to get them through it. So art is such a big industry, and lots of people lean on it, don't they? They
do. And look, artists are, I think, actually humanities and social sciences graduates as well. But creative artists are, by their very nature, creative. They problem solve, they're innovative, they're flexible and adaptable. And what you're seeing now is artists who can't do the pre-lockdown art are transitioning their thinking and their practice to remote environments. So you're seeing all sorts of interesting things happen. And I forked out $25 well-earned dollars last week to watch Nick Cave live on the stage, and beautifully produced, beautiful sounding. Now, would I have preferred to be there live? Absolutely, we all would. But it really was a great example of how we can adapt. We're doing that now in our remote teaching. We're successfully helping students to continue to study, to continue toward their qualification, but we're being creative, innovative, and hopefully, entertaining as well.
Yeah, I do not only presenting, but I'm also a stand-up comedian, and I got to tell you, it's a tough gig when you're doing it to a screen full of people that are mute. But that's just, I guess, part and parcel. Sorry.
No, don't apologise at all. I was just saying to a colleague this morning how much I feel like a talk show presenter in my classes, and I feel like I have to be, extra witty. I've got to put those dad jokes to the side a bit. So, Bobby, I think if you're getting audiences, good on you.
Thanks. Oliver, we'll go across to you now. Now, you're studying a Bachelor of Criminal Justice. Tell us a little bit about your experiences.
It's been a really good experience so far. I transitioned over from Perth and went into this degree, and everybody was very welcoming. And my horizons have opened crazily, being able to, do a bit of youth work units, social work units, psychology-based, all sorts of stuff.
So you said you've come over from Perth. What made you choose VU?
The criminal justice program, actually. Yeah, I haven't told you this before, but yeah, it's a criminal justice program.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Good to hear from VU. Yeah. Tell us about some of the things that you've learnt in this course.
It's a good question. I've learnt a lot about myself as well, but primarily in the course, it's been, I never knew I would like youth work so much. So I'm considering potentially working in that field as well. all sorts of stuff like humanitarian things, very, very interesting stuff.
Greg, I'll go back to you. You spoke a little bit earlier about Kindred Studios. Now, VU students have access to this space. Can you tell us about the space and what opportunities it gives?
Sure can, very happy to. So Kindred Studios is a creative arts-based hub that's based in Yarraville. We have all our studios, so our recording studios, our practice studios, our Mac labs, our classrooms, are all at Kindred Studios. So we have a bespoke, purpose-built facility for us. All the students spend their time there when they're not at the library here or at the gym or whatever, but they spend their time there using the studios to record music, to practice music, perform music in our studio, which is actually very like this studio. We film them, we record them, they release albums. They also, the more hard-working ones, Bobby, get a gig at the VU Music Agency, which is a professional agency which offers musical services to the community and private citizens. So they get lots of practice and a little bit of cash to support their learning as well. So it's really that Kindred hub with those specialist facilities that allow them to sort of get an insight and practice what it's like what it's going to be like being a practicing musician.
Great to have that partnership.
We're very fortunate.
Yeah. Now, Greg, you are the course chair of Bachelor of Music.
Yes.
Can you tell us about some of the music courses and what students can expect to learn?
Yes, I can. Actually, VU offers both TAFE music courses, a diploma of music performance and a diploma of music engineering, but it also offers a Bachelor of Music performance focusing on contemporary music. And students really are attracted to that course because they get to play music, they get to learn about the language of music, which is called music theory. Some people struggle with that a little. They learn about the technical aspects of music, so recording and amplifiers and tones in guitars, and they also learn about the history and culture of music. So they get a broad academic and practical focus in contemporary music. They play a lot, they have a lot of fun, they learn about one another, and we think that it positions them pretty well for life as a practicing artist and musician following their graduation.
Looks like there's lots of opportunities for studying here at VU for people that are looking to come within music or arts and creative arts, which is
We
great.
certainly hope so.
Yeah.
And I think that point you're making, Greg, there about they're also preparing them for life too.
Absolutely.
And the sorts of skills that and knowledges that students learn, I think, through our degrees and through the arts degree, which some people go, what's the point of an arts degree? And you go, well, no, the arts degree is still the most popular degrees and what lots of people have for going on to all sorts of different careers, sometimes further studies, sometimes they go straight into pursuing a career using their arts degree. So many things need a degree. So I think the sorts of skills that we often focus on the skills, those work skills of being collaborative, of working in teams, of having great communication skills. We talk about those as work skills often, but I think we should be talking more about them too as life skills. And we very much focus on the importance of coming through your degree with being a person that is really aware of the society that you're living in, being compassionate, being knowledgeable, being a good advocate for others, all of those sorts of important things to make you a valuable member of society as well, and a happy person, we hope too.
Absolutely. Now, we've got some questions that have come in from students that are interested in some of our courses here. So I'll give this first one. This was for you, Greg. Can you be a vocalist and an instrumentalist at the same time while studying a music bachelor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can, and it's a fantastic question and something that we get asked quite a bit. We actually not only allow people to do that, but we encourage them, Bobby. We think that being experienced across a range of instruments is really important. Vocalists, for instance, often accompany themselves on piano, guitar, all sorts of things. So we actually really encourage that, and it's also a point of difference. Most music courses traditionally only allow the students to focus on their primary instrument. That's not the case with us. We definitely want students who have an interest in pursuing multi-instrumental paths to be able to do that.
Wonderful. Got another question for you here, Greg. What are some industry and community connections VU has within music?
Sure. Well, I think I may have mentioned a couple before, Bobby, but we have the VU Music Agency, which is a professional agency that offers musical services provided by our students and graduates. Through that, we've developed relationships with Big West Festival, Maribyrnong City Council, the Footscray Performing Arts Centre, so a range of community industry, Malthouse Theatre, where students go on placements or get work through those organisations. We've also had a partnership for a few years with the Melbourne International Jazz Festival, and we also now currently have a really interesting partnership with the Arts and Industries Festival, which is a really massive festival based in the west of Melbourne, dealing with industry, so all those local industries like the glassworks and the docks, and the arts community, and it puts those things together and runs a fantastic festival every year. So the students, there's more opportunities than they can keep up with, actually.
I was going to say, it's a great chance to get your foot into the door to so many different industries just from studying here at VU. Yeah,
and meeting people and developing those networks, and also getting a taste for what you might like to do afterwards.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg. Jeannie, I've got a question here for you now. What are some of VU's creative arts facilities?
Oh, well, we're in one right at the moment. Yeah. This is a multi-camera studio, which is a pretty cool thing to have in a university, which obviously the students who enrol in units that use this facility, so they learn all sorts of aspects of production in here. And Greg's, of course, just mentioned the music facilities at Kindred, but we also have here the capacity to learn across. We've got an artist studio because we do visual art. Of course, digital media is a big part of our work, so we have all the latest equipment, the latest materials, the latest programs, the latest teachers, people who are up with the latest, because I think that's our facilities are great. We teach photography, we have the best cameras, all these sorts of things, but we also have the best people to teach them because we bring in people from industry amongst our ongoing academic staff as well. We have people who come with that industry background, and where we also keep up our practices as well.
Great.
Actually, sorry if I might jump in very quickly there. I was talking to Oliver just before we came on camera, and I was wondering if you could maybe give us some experiences of the teaching that you've had during your course. What's it like?
It's different to anything I've ever experienced before. I'm not sure who I'm supposed to talk to.
No, that's all right.
It's been really good. I was speaking to you earlier about it, as you said, and I gave an example of one of my favourite teachers here at VU. I won't name any names, but he is a very empathetic human being, and especially during this sort of COVID lockdown, it's been quite difficult for university students as well. Having the motivation to get out of bed and walk 5 minutes is a lot harder somehow than getting out of bed an hour before class and getting to uni. Yeah. And so as a result of that, we have our cameras off, and then you feel like you're a talk show presenter. So we do apologise, but this teacher, he sticks around, he asks us if we're doing all right. Because my family's in Perth, it's been a bit of a struggle personally, and he asks me to stick back after class over Zoom for 20 minutes, and we just have a chat about, how my applications are going, how I'm feeling, all of this stuff, which is really, really nice, really nice.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, great to hear, going above and beyond there. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think it is a bit of it is our culture really, of the way that we go about things. When you can often talk about being student focused, but we do genuinely believe it's about the students, and as teachers we are responding to what they need. And as you said, we're teaching them skills, we're teaching them knowledge, but there's a whole person there as well.
Jenny, you spoke a little bit about this before, so I'll go back to this. As we know, VU are now doing the block model. How does that work in terms of student placements?
Well, what we do with terms of placements is that we'll organise for students to be able to take a placement. It might go over one block, it might go over some other blocks. But of course, most importantly, in the block system, you do one unit at a time. So because you're doing one unit at a time, we can say this unit involves a placement, this unit involves a project, this unit involves this block of learning. So put all your focus on that. Yeah, you'll be with the teacher of the unit and the other students for 3 hours a day, 3 days a week. Currently on Zoom, you might think, that's a lot. But of course, for students who are used to an environment where they get to know their peers, they become friends with their peers, they get to know their teachers, they know their teachers care. Students are coming on, and they are coming on to these long sessions as well, and they're asking for more. And I think being asked for more time, wanting to have more time with teachers, more time with other students, is a pretty good recommendation of having come up with a pretty good way of actually delivering, as we like to call it, the units, the study that we now do. So that one at a time is really important, as well as small group in a classroom. We laughed a little when we had some of our colleagues, Greg, you would have had this too, in other universities going, how am I going to give them a lecture on Zoom? What are you going to do? And we go, oh, we don't do lectures. We're in there teaching the students every day.
Beautiful. Something to boast about to the other universities.
Yeah, just quietly.
Yeah, Greg, how have you found teaching through the block model as opposed to, I guess, traditional teaching methods with universities?
Good question. It's been really interesting. I was talking about innovation and adaptation before, so we've had to be innovative and we've had to adapt to this new system, but we're really getting somewhere with it now. And I think one of the best things about it is that when you do a block, you do an intense period of study on one block of learning for 4 weeks, but you also get a result at the end of that 4 weeks. So you know every 4 weeks how you're going. You don't have to wait all semester to know that, wow, I did a lot better than I thought, or more worryingly, geez, I didn't think I was doing that bad. So if you do get a good result in the first block, happy days, on to the next one. If your result is not as expected, you can go to your teacher and say, look, I'm really quite worried about this, and we can work out a strategy for you to improve in that next block. So knowing where you are academically, knowing your progress, I think makes a big difference. The other main area I think Jeannie touched on as well, which is that your focus can be on one particular block of learning. And we've found that students feel less stressed, feel less anxious about having to do a whole lot of different things at the same time. And they can really focus their energies on that one thing and put all their heart and soul into it. And that has resulted in better output, better quality learning, and better results.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for sharing all your experiences as not only students but also teachers. It's been very informative, and I'm sure everyone out there listening has got a lot out of that as well. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate that. Thank you to everyone that's been tuning in. Thanks for joining us on this panel where we discussed arts degrees, including humanities, social sciences and creative arts. Also, special thank you to Oliver. Come all the way from Perth just to be here to study at VU. We wish you all the best in your future studies here at VU.